Last episode, I talked about how Black people need to stay inside, stay off the streets, stay out of them protests, keep ourselves safe. Them protests are not our business. Them protests are white folks' business, and that we need to keep ourselves safe and focus on ourselves and be resting during this time. And I gotta say, when I posted this, I got a lot of positive feedback. I mean, I was so happy to see that all of us Black people, most of us Black people, the vast majority of us are on the same page when it comes to this. It's like psychically, intuitively, we're all tapping into the same energy of don't go out in them streets. And I was so happy about that, to see all those responses. But I also got some responses from Black people who were like, no, we can't just be at home resting. What happens when they come for us? We're going to be next in line. What would our ancestors say? This is not what Harriet and all them Yeah. Okay. And so I wanted to address some of those points and issues and go into more detail about exactly what I mean when I say Black people stay the hell home. Okay. Because it's deeper than just staying the hell home. And I also think it's important for Black people, especially who are hesitant about staying home, to understand like the big picture of what exactly I'm saying and what exactly is going on in our country right now. So, first and foremost, what we're seeing right now, for lack of a better word, is a biblical event. Okay? This is a predestined event. We are witnessing an inevitability based on the origins of this country, which is genocide of the indigenous people, which is human trafficking, labor trafficking, sex trafficking of Africans, and also the indigenous people here, and all of the ills that this country was built on. We are seeing the inevitable outcome of building a country on a rotten foundation. Okay? We are seeing the inevitable outcome of empire. If anybody knows anything about empires usually only last 250 years. And guess what? Y'all? If you do the mathematics, from 1776 to 2025, you guessed it, it's 250 years. Okay? So we are due for a reckoning based on just the fact that empire is guaranteed almost to fail after 250 years. And why is that? That's because empire is not for the people. Empire is for the emperors. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Empire is not created in service of the people. It's not created in service of the society, in service of the community. It's created in service of the 1%, of the emperors, of the wealthy, in our case, of the capitalists, okay? That is what empire is created for. And so it is inevitable that empires never last more than 250 years because they have faulty premises, faulty foundations, and eventually the people get sick and tired and they rise up. And they rise up like the day I rise up. Okay. I love that song. But the people inevitably rise up because, again, empire is not for the people. It's for the emperors. And eventually people wake up and they get sick and tired of being exploited, used and abused in order to support the tiny 1% and even 0.1%. Okay? That's what we're seeing here with these billionaires taking over our government. The 0.1%. Not even the 1%, but also the 1%. I'll even go as far as to say the top 5%. Okay? Because the gap between the top 5%, the top 1%, and the rest of us is a canyon. Okay? It is miles and miles and miles. It is a huge distance, right? So eventually what happens after 250 years is the people wake up, they rise up, and everything goes to hell. Everything goes to hell. Also because empire is all about ceaseless expansion. Right? Expansion. Eventually, when you live on a finite planet, which is what we live in, right? This country, this planet is finite, right? You can only expand so far until eventually there's nowhere to expand anymore. And as a result, empire will fall. because there's nowhere else to go. And the people that you continuously try to absorb into your empire, again, they too will rise up. And eventually you're spread so thin that it's inevitable that you will fail. And so what we are witnessing right now is the fall of the empire of the United States of America. That is, like I said, this is something biblical. This is something out of our hands. This is an inevitability that we cannot stop. We can't. Because the system, the empire itself is a faulty system of governance. Okay? That's number one. Number two, you have to add in racism, white delusion, aka white supremacy, as they say, in this country. You have to factor that in as well. That is another aspect of the faulty, crumbling foundation that this country was built on. It was built on the genocide of indigenous peoples here. It was built on racism and enslavement of Africans, Black people, to create an economy that is built on literally blood and forced labor. Okay? And the thing about white supremacy in this country and in this world, because it's infected the whole entire planet, let's be clear about that. But the thing about the white delusion, white supremacy, is that until this country faces the truth of white supremacy, the history of white supremacy, and most importantly, atones for that, what we're witnessing is going to be an inevitability. The fall of the country is going to be an inevitability. White supremacy is a cancer that runs through the veins of this country, and it is ruining this country from the inside out. These Trump supporters, they knew that electing Trump was not going to be good for any of us. They knew that, but it was a calculated gamble that they took because they were most invested in white supremacy. You know, a lot of people say, oh, these Trump supporters are so dumb. They're so uninformed. And yeah, sure, there's some people who are uninformed. There are some people who are, you know, they're not with it, cognitively. Sure, those people exist. And, you know, there's so many people that say, oh, you know, Republicans and Trump supporters, they always vote against their interests. No, they don't. What you don't realize is their top number one priority is maintaining and upholding the system of white supremacy. That is their number one priority over everything. And so because of that, they're willing to throw everything else away, including the whole entire country. Have you ever heard of the concept of drained pool politics? For those who haven't heard of drained pool politics, it's what happened in the South after the civil rights movement, when desegregation happened, when they were forced to desegregate in the South. You know what white people did? Rather than sharing their pools with Black people and non-white people because they were forced to legally after desegregation, they decided to drain the pools and fill them in with cement. They would rather have no pools at all than to share them with Black people. This is the mentality of the parents and grandparents and great-grandparents of today's current Trump supporters. This is the mentality. They were willing to drain the pools just so they wouldn't have to share it. People talk about, why can't we ever get universal health care in this country? It's because they don't want non-white people to have access to universal health care. They would rather suffer with high-ass insurance premiums, high-ass emergency room bills, high-ass ambulance ride bills, high-ass prescription drug prices. They would rather deal with that than to have universal health care, knowing that Black people, non-white people, and oh, God forbid, the undocumented immigrants have access to that as well. That's why. Everybody says, why can't we be like Sweden and all those Norwegian countries, these Scandinavian countries that have universal health care? They have this excellent quality of living. Do you know what else they have? Homogenous societies. All white societies, y'all. That's why they're willing to do that. They're willing to take care of their people because all their people is white. But you're starting to see the tides turn. Why? Because of immigration. You're starting to see the tides turn in all of those countries. Because once again, white supremacy, white delusion keeps white people from serving the community, serving the society if the society has black and brown folks in it. And so that's what we're witnessing, folks. That's what we're witnessing in this country. And so that's why these Trump supporters were willing to sacrifice their precious eggs. Now eggs are what, $8, $9 a dozen? That's insane when you think about it. That's why they were willing to sacrifice healthcare. That's why they're willing to sacrifice their jobs, even though now some of them are like, oh, damn, I didn't realize I was going to be a target. That's why they're willing to sacrifice the economy. Trump is going to send us into the toilet with this economy. And that's why they're willing to sacrifice all of that. Why? Because their number one top priority is upholding white supremacy. They are terrified to give up the benefits that white people get in a white supremacist society. And so they're willing to throw it all to hell. And that's what we're witnessing here, folks. So my black brothers and sisters, when I tell you to stay home, stay out of it, it's partly because this, where we are today, we will never escape this until these white people deal with white supremacy and atone for the racism and the genocide that they built this country on. You know, this all started in 1492 when white people came to this country and genocided their way across the land, right? But another major turning point for this country was after the Civil War.